Hello, 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 everyone. How's everybody today? This is your host, Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I wanted to come in and just let's talk a little bit about this funding and how some of the Democrats are up in arms now about Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader, voting with the Republicans because he does not want to shut the government down. So I wanted to know, what do you guys think about that? And again, thank you for all of my subscribers. Please go ahead and subscribe and give it a thumbs up, give it a like, leave your comments because I'd love to hear what you think about Chuck Schumer, the Democratic Party, and government possibly shutting down. I believe they need about eight Democrats in order not to shut it down. And as you all know before, I've shared with you that government is corrupt, and we know that we are in a crisis here in America. And I'm going to do something about education as well a little bit later. But right now, I just wanted to do a quick update on what is happening with Congress. I mean, it's like these three branches of government have lost it. They have made us a laughing stock. So, real quickly, you're not going to be here long. Just let me share with you the latest on what's going on. Well, at least my latest to my knowledge of what's going on. Let's take a listen here to what the news has to say about what's going on now. Is always something. So, let's take a listen here and see what's happening.
Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. Turning now to Capitol Hill, where lawmakers have until the clock strikes midnight tonight to pass a stopgap funding bill and keep the lights on in Washington. Senate Majority Leader John Thune will call for that vote sometime this afternoon. Here's where we stand today. These are all the Democrats and independents in the Senate. Republicans need at least 8 of them to get this bill through. The good news for GOP members, at least, that they've got 2 on their side. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, and who is a sure yes. And in a sudden shift, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he will now vote in favor of the bill. That's a surprising one. Here he is explaining that decision on the Senate floor this morning. Take a listen.
Well, Mr. President, as everyone knows, government funding expires at midnight tonight. As I announced yesterday, I will vote to keep the government open. I believe it is the best way to minimize the harm that the Trump administration will do to the American people. Clearly, this is a Hobson's choice. The CR is a bad bill. But as bad as the CR is, I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
All right, let's go straight to Capitol Hill and CBS News congressional reporter Torian Small. Torian, thanks for being with us. You're getting all the fresh reaction from the leader's Democratic colleagues on this sudden reversal. What are they saying?
Liz, well, there's still quite a bit of trepidation among Democrats about whether or not they should cross party lines to get this continuing resolution across the finish line, especially considering the implications of this bill. $13 billion in non-defense spending cuts, some implications about funding for D.C. as well, which we're seeing advocates really take to the rotunda right here to talk about. That's holding hard and heavy on the minds of many Democrats here, but quite a few have told our reporters that they're not expecting a shutdown to happen, implying that many of them are, at least when it comes to the cloture vote, on the side of Republicans and seeing it through. Now, Democrats are also angling for an amendment to the House CR that would shorten the time span of this stopgap measure. Instead of through September, they're looking at an April deadline to come back to the table and negotiate the spending package. But again, right now, it appears Democrats are on a different page than they were earlier in the week, many of them looking to avoid a shutdown at all costs.
Yeah, and Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal predicts the CR is also going to get done tonight. So does that mean basically more of his colleagues are just going to follow suit and kick the can down the road, so to speak?
Yeah, like you said, we have 2 yes on the record so far. That's Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania and Chuck Schumer, obviously the Democratic leader here from New York, who's saying that they will back this despite the fact this is a bill that is unsavory to them. We've been trying to take the temperature of other Democrats as well to see if they are in line with them about whether or not they should support. And like I said, there's a lot of trepidation still around awarding, in their minds, Republicans with this win, Donald Trump with this victory, especially after he did a victory lap before the vote happened by calling out Chuck Schumer by name and saying he did the brave move by announcing he would support this bill. But at the heart of this, though, is who the blame will fall on if a government shutdown happens. Democrats don't want to see it happen to them, even though it's Republicans who hold the majority in the House and the Senate and ultimately the White House.
And Torian, Dr. Oz is also on Capitol Hill facing lawmakers in his bid to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. What's the very latest on that?
Yeah, much like past confirmation hearings, Dr. Oz is facing quite the grilling from Democrats on the Senate Finance Committee panel. This also comes after Democratic staff on that panel released this memo alleging that he severely underpaid taxes on Medicare between the years of 2021 to 2023. Oz's staff is saying that any type of conflicts that he might have had have since been corrected. But again, that's at the root of the issues that Democrats have around him. Now, whether or not that would be an issue potentially stymieing his confirmation is a different story. Like we've seen with more controversial picks, just about 3 Republicans have defected from Donald Trump on those confirmations, but that still wasn't enough to ultimately block them. And considering some of the usual suspects like Susan Collins of Maine previously campaigned for Oz when he was a Senate candidate in Pennsylvania, it's unlikely that he'll see any Republican pushback like we've seen more controversial figures in the past.
All right, CBS News congressional reporter Torian Small, thank you so much.
Okay, let's stop here. Let me give a few comments. Again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I started this podcast in 2022, January, because I wanted to help our people being brought to a higher level of consciousness, because we have a lot of inappropriate behaviors, a lot of issues within our Black community that we need to resolve. And the Democratic nor the Republican Party will resolve these issues for us. So it's really up to us to take control of our own selves, look into our behaviors and do what we have to do. Because like I've told you, I'm 74. I just turned 74. This is my birthday month, March 4th. I turned 74. And my thing is, we can't look to either party to do anything substantial to assist us economically, except continue to fight for the debt that is owed, which is reparations. And that's what we need to be focusing on. And I don't want to see the government shut down. So I'm fine with Democrats voting to not shut the government down. And they've been talking a lot about this closure. So let me tell you and share with you what they're talking about, because all of this came about as a result of all this filibustering they were doing when some of these political figures would get on the floor and they would just talk, 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 talk. Nothing could get done. And it seems like uh, they're not working for the people. So Chuck Schumer is saying that in order to work for the people, he's going to vote along with them. And when they're talking about this closure, let me tell you what that is. It says here, that year, the Senate adopted, meaning the year, I believe it might have been 1975. Anyhow, it was some time in the past when they were doing all this filibustering, just talking, 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 wasting a lot of time, just a lot of corruption going on within the political parties, both Democratic and Republican. That's why I got out of the Democratic Party when I was in my 30s, and I'm not in the Republican Party either. So that year, the Senate adopted a rule to allow a 2/3 majority to end a filibuster. a procedure known as closure, and that's CLOTURE, CLOTURE. So in 1975, the Senate reduced the number of votes required for closure from two-thirds of senators rather voting to three-fifths of all senators duly chosen and sworn, which would be 60 of the 100-member Senate. So that's what they're trying to avoid, because I'm not for all of this filibustering, wasting our tax dollars, not funding the government, because it's too much work to be done. And all of this is, they look like a clown show. Both Republicans and Democrats, they're doing all of this childish, ridiculous, uh, just taking up a lot of time that's wasted when they should be working on policies that will benefit the public. That's what they were voted in for. And for us to sit back and keep voting these people in, that's on us. We need to get rid of them, particularly a lot of these older uh, Republicans and Democrats. A lot of them need to go home, take a vacation, enjoy the rest of their lives instead of staying in a position that many of them are out of touch with reality. And some of them are older than I am, and I'm 74, and I would not want to be in politics at this time. If I was, I would be using some common sense. A lot of these politicians are not even using common sense to govern. And that's what's so sad about what we are going through as American citizens here, because they're not doing their job, the job we hired them to do. So, with that said, again, I'm Louise Hicks. Give me your thoughts and your comments on what you think uh, these politicians should do. Should they vote to go ahead and do the funding and not shut the government down? Or do you think they should vote against it and keep this going, knowing that ultimately in the end, you're going to have to do something? So why not end it? I am not for shutting down the government. And that is my stand on it. So leave your comments and let me know what your thoughts are about it, because I'd be curious to see what other citizens think about what this government is doing and how they are supposedly leading the country at this time in which we are in a chaotic mess and a crisis right now. So again, please subscribe, leave your comments, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And by all means, share, 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 because we all need to be in the know of what these politicians are doing and how they are not governing and working for the people. They're working for a few people, the elite, the rich, it appears, but we need them to work for the majority of the taxpayers collectively, the American citizens. So with that said, again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host, and I always tell you, your power lies within you. Let it loose. And always speak up, speak up, speak out. Voice your opinion on what your thoughts are, because you have that right to do that. So I will see you in the next video. I always talk about this scripture too. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And let's use that power and speak up and speak out. And let's vote some of these people out that shouldn't be here. They need to go home and take a rest, take a break, particularly all the ones that's been politicking and polilying for decades. We need to get rid of them, get them out. Put some younger people in here who have that common sense and are willing to govern according to the people. And again, remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose, because your destiny is your command. And I will see you in the next video.